This program features live coverage of an African safari and may This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. This program
an elementary welcome up to the Masai Mara Triangle in Kenya, and we have got some beautiful African elephants through grassland there. Aren't they gorgeous? Absolutely beautiful. One of the best animals to spend time with. Welcome, my name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Archie. Please send through questions with your teacher. Let us know how you're doing this afternoon. It is a beautiful 27 degrees Celsius, 83 degrees Celsius up here in Kenya. We're very excited. Let's get back to these elephants. Arch, so cool to see them out in the open plain. Look at that very long nose. Look how she's using it. The big one in the middle is the big mama. She's probably also a grandmama. We call this a herd of elephants, and they are led by a big granny, really. And they're quite happy with the swinging of the tail. And she's walking along, using her nose to grab at the grass, because that's what they feed on. They feed on grass and leaves and twigs. And look at the one in front. It's learning and practicing and doing exactly what Mum's doing. Isn't that marvelous? Imagine being able to do that with your nose all the way down onto the ground. Oh, now it's hiding from us, of course. It's hiding. They're all staying very close together because they're a little family. And Mum shows them, okay, you see this plant over here? You can eat that one. Do you see this one over here? Yep, and you can also eat that one. So they get taught lots of lessons, just like we do. Hello, all of you. Very nice question. You want to know how long do elephants live for? Well, they can live for up to 65 years of age. It really depends where they are. Up here in Kenya, they eat on a lot of grass, and so they can eat lots of grass, and the grass doesn't do too much damage to the teeth. But down in South Africa, where you'll be going shortly, they can live for a little bit less. It all depends on how their teeth do. They don't have the same opportunity we have to go to the dentist every now and again. So when their teeth eventually fall out and break, well, then unfortunately they can't chew their food anymore. And when you are a big elephant, you need to feed on so much food every single day. Carloads of food. Anyway, as I said, we are also doing a show down in South Africa, and my friend is down there. He would also like to say good afternoon. Indeed, I would like to say good afternoon, and well, you can see that much like Steve up in Kenya, here in South Africa, we've also got Ellies, but our Ellies will look a little bit different to what Steve's do, and so they have a little bit of a different kind of shape and form, which I'll tell you about shortly. But first, I need to say hello to all of you. My name is Tristan, and on camera I've got Sebastian this afternoon, and it is a warm welcome to all of you. I hope that you're going to have the best time with us in the next 45 minutes as we explore all of Africa's amazing little kind of secrets. Now, what we've got here is a very small herd of elephants. There is only 4 of them in total, but they are a very special herd of elephants. It's a herd that we know very well, that we see all the time, and you can see the female that's closest to us. The reason why we know who it is, do you see that her trunk is a little bit damaged? So she's got a trunk that is not really in good condition compared to the other elephants, and so we call her Short Trunk. Now, Short Trunk has got an interesting story. Out in the world and in Africa, unfortunately, we get a lot of people that will hunt these animals and hunt all kinds of different types of animals illegally. So what that means is they'll go into a game reserve and they'll put out different things. They'll either take a gun or they'll put out wire, and they'll try and trap animals in order to either eat them or to kill them to be able to get certain parts of them to sell. So those people are not really doing a very good thing, and they're causing a lot of damage to our wildlife. So what happened with this elephant is that there is a certain thing out here called a snare. Now, a snare is put out by these bad people who basically want to kill small animals, and unfortunately elephants, because they're very curious and very interested in things, they go and sniff around. And this poor elephant probably put her trunk into this little wire circle, which is what a snare is, and that circle of wire then tightens, and unfortunately that meant that she lost the tip of her trunk. And that means for an elephant that life becomes a lot more difficult. An elephant has an incredible trunk that has 2 little fingers on the end of it, and that helps it to be able to pick up things and utilize its trunk to the best of its ability. And so the fact that she's lost that but yet is still so healthy is really, really an interesting thing, and she's really done well to be able to survive. And the other elephants that are with her are all her offspring as far as we know. So, is an elephant's trunk longer than a giraffe's neck? No, not quite. An elephant can stretch its trunk out, so sometimes when they're walking like this, their trunk is a little bit pulled in. They can stretch it a little bit longer than that, but a giraffe's neck will be longer than the Ellie's trunk. What I'm going to do, though, is we're going to try and just get in front of these Ellies, because they're going to go towards a road, and they're going to cross a road, and then we're going to get a really nice view of them. So I'm just going to quickly try and get into that area before they get there. But like I say, a giraffe's neck is probably a little bit longer than an Ellie's trunk. Difficult to always know exactly how long a kind of, or how you're going to compare that, because you must remember that elephants, they live a lot longer than giraffes, so you can't really compare via age. Also, it's difficult if you're going to compare adult elephants. Is it going to be a boy elephant or a girl elephant, a boy giraffe or a girl giraffe? All of those things will kind of dictate how long their neck or trunk is. So it's a bit of a difficult comparison, but I would say on the most part, giraffes' necks are longer than elephants' trunks. Right, let's just get ahead quickly. If we get around a little bit, we'll be able to see these guys coming out so nicely. Emroy, so elephants require a lot of water. They really are animals that need to drink a lot, and that's because, well, it's hot out in Africa, and because of their digestive system and the way that they eat, they often defecate a lot, which means they go to the toilet a lot, and when they go to the toilet, they lose moisture. So these guys need to go and drink water very, very regularly, and I think that these guys actually might be on their way to go and drink water now, and they'll drink, depending on which elephant we're looking at here, but a big adult female like short trunk, well, she'll probably drink about, I would say, 80 to 100 liters a day. So what's that in gallons? I'll have to work that out for you, how much it is in gallons, and I'll get back to you. Now I'll have to use my brain a little bit. My brain is a little bit on the slow side at times. Louise, maybe you can help me quickly with the conversion for a gallon to liter ratio. But yeah, like I said, about 100 liters is what a big adult elephant will consume every day. That's a serious amount of water. Now, if you take a little soda bottle, that is for us is a 2 liter. So for you, I can't remember what the size is if you're in the United States. There we go, 26.4 gallons, which is more than you'll probably put in your car when you go, or your mom and dad will put in their cars when they go fill it up to drive around. So it's a lot of water, and they'll require that, like I say, throughout a 24-hour period. And so what Ellies do is they typically go to water a few times a day. So they'll go in the early morning, then they sometimes go in the middle of the day where they'll get a little bit of water and they'll swim to try to cool their body down, and then they go in the afternoons once again to go and have a nice cool drink. And what she's doing now, though, you'll see, is throwing dust on herself. So the dusting that you're seeing there is all to try and help this elephant keep its skin in good condition. You know, we get into the shower and we wash ourselves with soap, and we use sometimes a cloth or a brush or something to kind of keep ourselves nice and clean. Ellies, well, they can't go into a shower and they can't do those kind of things with a bar of soap. So what they do with the dust is that they throw the dust on them, and that dust will help with a few different things. Some of it is to try and keep the skin in good condition by getting, a little bit of a kind of coating that it keeps the sort of sun off them a little bit. It will also help with getting off any little mites or ticks or anything that might be on the skin, because often they do it when they're wet, and then that dirt dries hard on them, and then they can go and rub it off. So it's a very, very clever thing. And now normally they do it after drinking, so I'm quite surprised that she's doing it now. Well, she's still going to feed, and they're still slowly making their way towards a water point, which is where I think they're going to go drink. So while she goes in that direction, or her herd goes in that direction, let's send you across to my friend Brent, who also wants to say hello, and he's looking at some little footprints in the sand.
Hello, hello, and welcome. And it's so exciting to have your school with us on Drive. And I want to have lots of questions from you. Remember to give them to your teacher. But what we're looking at over here is actually the track of a male leopard called Hosana, which means the little chief or the little prince. He's one of our favorite leopards here. We find him quite often. And he's a young male, which makes him lots of fun because he's always up to mischief. It looks like he's headed towards the east, so we're going to do the same and try and follow his footprints. Now, at this time of the day, he's probably going to be having a snooze under the shade of a tree. So it's quite hot. So leopards like to sleep at this time of the day. Okay. Oh, good question, guys. Good question. How big is the national park we're in? Well, we're actually in a private reserve that is open to the national park, which means there's no fences and the animals can move between. So the Kruger National Park, which we're a part of, the Greater Kruger National Park, is a 2.7 million hectares. Now in acres, it's 2.7 million hectares in acres. That's 5.5 million, 5.6 million acres, more or less. The Greater Kruger National Park. The national park itself is 2.4 million hectares, but there are a lot of private reserves that are open, so there's no fences. So it's a massive open area for the animals to move around in. I think that leopard has gone through there. So what I'm going to do, when you're tracking a leopard, a lot of our tracking a leopard is trying to think like a leopard and move to where he's probably going to be. So I think he might be in this area around here. And I always double check for footprints. Okay, well, I look for this leopard. We're going to send you all the way back to Kenya to my friend Steve, who's teeth.
We've got is actually the suede. Well, unfortunately, it sounds like my friend Steve is having a few little issues with his technology, and so hopefully that will all get sorted out quite quickly. But we're still with Short Trunk and her herd, and we're still following them about. They slowly but surely making their way, plodding along towards the water. They're having a bit of a feed as they do it, so it's going to take a while for them to get to this water point, and we're going to have to wait and be a little bit patient, but they'll eventually get there. And the thing about being an elephant, though, is that you have to find a lot of food and you have to eat a lot, and so you might as well, if you're walking towards water to go have a drink, well, you might as well stop in the shade every now and then and eat. Oh. Sounds like the one has got something stuck in its trunk because it was making a bit of a noise. Now, sorry, Louise, can you just repeat that again? I didn't get that. Oh, Sophia, well, yes. Elephants are probably one of the smartest animals we have on land here in Africa. In fact, they reckon that elephants are just as clever as dolphins. So they are very, very, very smart animals. They're able to think about things. They can show emotions. They can move around and learn things very, very well. They can do all kinds of fascinating stuff. And it's because their brain is a very similar size to ours. Now, they don't use their brain quite as well as what we can, but they still have a big, 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 big brain, and that allows them to remember very, very well. So you'll find elephants very seldom forget anything, as well as that they're able to learn things very well. So they can go and they can figure out, where can they get water from, where is the cleanest kind of water, which is why they're moving in the direction they're moving at the moment. We're right in our dry season, and there's very clean water that comes out of a borehole, which is a hole in the ground that kind of is forced up to the surface, and the animals can drink it. But it's much cleaner than all the other water points around, and so that's why they're heading there, is probably for the cleaner water. But they really are very intelligent. They can problem solve, and to give you an idea of just how clever elephants can be, I used to work at a camp where we used to have elephants that used to every now and then come into the camp and cause a bit of trouble. And so what they did is they put a electric fence around the camp to stop the elephants from coming in, and they then also put a big metal kind of boom or a big metal pole across the road, which they put a chain over the boom so that you couldn't lift it unless you pulled the chain off, and then you could lift the boom, and then you would have to undo a electric fence. So it would have these little rubber grips that you would kind of connect to the fence, and then if you let those go, then you could drive through it. And so, you know, the elephants for a few weeks didn't really know what to do. They would walk around the camp and kind of go around and round and round and try and figure out how now they could get into the camp to where all this nice food and water was. And then they realized, well, they kind of, one bull walked to that point where we would drive our cars in. And with his trunk, he took the chain and he pulled the chain and pulled it off. He then picked up the boom with his tusks and lifted his head and then put it on top of his head. And then from there, he took his trunk and he put his trunk around the little rubber handles where we would go and take the electric fence and move it. And then he would do the same, drop those off, and then he would walk through and the boom would close behind him. So the pole would close behind him and it looked like no elephant had even come through there, which was pretty amazing. And then he would wander in and you'd go and eat. So he was very naughty but also very clever to be able to work out how to do that. So an elephant, like I say, is probably one of the smartest animals. In fact, is the smartest animal probably in this kind of area. So we're very lucky to have them. They're amazing creatures to watch go about their business. Now you can see, because it's quite warm, everybody is trying to fit into one little piece of shade, which is not really going very well. There's not really enough space. I'm going to go forward a bit so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. So we're just going to roll forward slightly. Hopefully they will be okay with us doing so. They normally are. Oh, there we go. So you'll see now everybody is kind of squashed into the smallest little bit of shade that they can find, and that's just to try and stay out of the sun. Being big grey animals, you know, it's very, very difficult to be able to actually kind of stay nice and cool, but they have lots of ways to be able to stay cool. So you'll find that they'll kind of flap their ears and they will basically try and cool their body using their ears. Now, Louise, I know that you want me to send you to somebody else, but you've got the wrong radio comms. So if you can just let me know who you would want me to send to, I will try and do so. Nope. Okay. Well, like I was saying, the ears basically help cool this Ellie down. So I'll get into it a little bit later, but while I do that, let's send you across to Brent, who has got a bird.
Okay, well, of course, the bird has done a hopper-to-skipper-to. He's down at the bottom there, Craig. Eh? Ah, that's actually a different one now. You see it down there in the shade. The other one there, so there's two different birds actually here. Ah, now that one is different to the one I was actually looking at first. That is a black-backed puffback. Woo! You can hear the call. And there was actually another shrike who's around in that tree as well. We can't see him now, he's disappeared. Now the black-backed puffbacks are able to puff up their back when they are displaying or when they're angry. So when they're looking for a girlfriend, or when they have found a snake or something that disturbs them. And unfortunately, he doesn't look like he's going to do it for us. But luckily, is that okay there, Gregor? We can show you. So there we go. That's why he gets his name, the puffback shrike, or the black-backed puffback. When upset, puffs up its back like that. Or when looking for a girlfriend. Oh, I can hear some sunbirds a little bit further down. Now, I've been showing you some small birds while I'm looking for a leopard. But all the way back in Kenya, Steve has got one of the biggest birds with the longest legs.
We've got one of the coolest birds out there, boys and girls. Have a look at that. A beautiful face, giving it a bit of a clean in the armpit. Every now and again, you need to give your armpit a bit of a clean, don't you? Look at those very long legs. Now, this is called a secretary bird, and they specialize in eating snakes. Can you imagine? They walk around with those long legs, and they grab the snake behind the head, and then they will eat it. That is what they do. So it's walking along, looking for all sorts of things hiding in the grass. It will also feed on small birds and rodents and some lizards. A frog if it can catch one. Beautiful. Love these wide open spaces. And you can see how they use their legs beautifully for walking. We're very fortunate to see lots of them up here. And as it gets close to that little thicket, it's looking around. Ooh, are there any snakes here? But look at all of the wildebeest at the back there. The wildebeest are here for the beautiful, beautiful grass. You see the secretary bird is walking through the beautiful short grass. There was a big fire through here. These areas like to have fire, and the fire makes the grass go nice and green. It's exactly what the wildebeest are here for. And there's a zebra. Look at that. There's all sorts of animals out on the plains here. Emily, that's a very good question. Off the top of my head, I don't know how big the wingspan is. I'm going to have to check. So Archie should maybe stay on an animal there while I quickly check. I think he saw something that we wanted to talk about earlier. Look at that. There is a warthog. Now, do you remember what the warthog was called in The Lion King? I'm sure you all do. Why don't you all tell your teacher quickly? And yes, your first Swahili word. Can you believe it? Pumba is actually the Swahili word for warthog. So there you're learning a whole different language right now. And I bet you couldn't tell me what the word for lion is in Swahili. I bet you couldn't tell me that. It's very easy if you've seen The Lion King. I'm sure you all have. Okay, so it doesn't tell me how big the wingspan is, but it stands at about 1.4 meters in height, the secretary bird. So I'm going to guess that the wingspan is quite similar to that, maybe a bit bigger. But we saw that warthog there. If we go back to him, if you don't mind, Archie. Now, remember we saw the elephant with the very long nose. Now, nothing really catches elephants or tries to catch them, so they're quite slow, really. And they have a very long nose because they don't need to run very fast, and so their legs don't work as well as warthogs do. So the warthog doesn't have a very long nose. It has to feed on the grass, but it still wants to run very quickly because absolutely everything wants to catch them out here. So they go down on their knees so that they can feed on the grass. You can see he's busy munching there, quite happy, wagging his tail. But he has to go down on his knees to do that because he doesn't have a long nose like the elephant. Hello, Mila. You want to know how heavy warthogs are? Well, they can get a variety of weights between the male and female, but probably the biggest and heaviest warthog you'll come across is probably about 120, 130 pounds. But isn't that's an enormous weight? And they are just muscle. And if we have a look at him there, he's got those tusks. Can you see those tusks? Yeah, those tusks are for defending themselves against cheetah and lion and leopard. And they're very, very sharp. Very sharp. A very strong neck. With a warthog fight, it just lifts its neck. And those tusks, well, they can do a lot of damage to another animal. They can really, really cut through the skin. Can cause a lot of damage. So that is how they protect themselves. And when they need to, they run very, very quickly. But right now, he's on his knees busy eating, and he's hoping all the other animals that are around are watching out for the lions, because it's very hard when you're down on your knees to eat and to have a look. Jamie, wow, that's a great question. You want to know how the warthog got its name? I would show you on his face now, but he's just gone behind that little bush. If we can get in again, Archie, that would be wonderful to see his face, but unfortunately he's just behind the little bit of grass. But when you see the warthog's face, he's got these big bumps on the side of the face. The male has got 2 sets on each side, and the female's got only 1 set, and it actually looks like a giant wart on his face, but it's not actually a wart. It's just it's part of bone sticking out of the head, and it's used for protecting them when they fight. So if he doesn't show his face, I'll have to show you a picture in the book. So let's keep watching. Maybe he'll stick his head up. What was the name for warthogs again in Swahili? Do you remember? I'm sure you do. Pumba, indeed. Pumba. Okay, if he doesn't show his face soon, I will show you a pretty picture in my book here. Got a very nice book. Always nice to have a reference book for animals out in the African wilderness, so that you can mark them down and you can learn and you can compare them, especially when you come to Africa. There's so many different animals out here. Okay, Archie's not going to show him his face, is he? You're going to have to go to the book. I've got one for you. One of my favorite books at the moment. I can show you what I was talking about. If we have a look, see the tusks on the face there? Those beautiful long tusks. Sorry about my head. You see that bump over there on the side of the face? Well, that is where the wart comes from. And on the other side, just above my finger, that is the other one. So there's 2 on either side, and 2 of those on either side for the males. That is why they're called warthogs, because they've got these giant wart-like looking things on the face. Well, Tristan is staying with his elephants. I'm sure he has lots more to tell you about them, so let's go over there. Well, we are stuck with our Ellies, but it's because we heard more of them. As we were following kind of short trunk herd, we thought they would be more ahead, and we've come across another big herd that is slowly also making the way towards water. And they're not too far away at this stage. They're getting quite close, and once they break this little thicket, you'll find they'll move to the water very quickly. So, from the whole class, you want to know how many elephants are normally in a herd. Well, it depends. It depends on the area that you are in Africa. So, in East Africa, there's, obviously a lot of elephants where Steve is. And then other parts of Africa, it will also depend. Here where we are in South Africa, you'll find that most of the herds of Ellies here are between 10 and 20. That would be about an average size herd for elephants in this particular area. But, you often do get herds that are bigger than that. Sometimes we'll even get the really big herds, which will be close to 100 elephants. Now, can you imagine 100 elephants together? How amazing that will be. Now, what I want to do quickly before we kind of stay here for too long is I see that there's a mom and a baby that's going to go and drink. So I want to go and quickly go around so you can see them having a little afternoon drink at the pan, which is not too far away. And there's also another big animal that's actually here that's watching the Ellies coming for a drink that you'll see very, 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 very shortly. It's going to be right in front of us on the road. I don't know if you can see it already, but look there. There is a big giraffe that is sitting in the road. Hello, Mr. Giraffe. So our giraffe is watching Ellies. It's all happening, and that's because it's so dry at the moment. All these animals need to come for water, so they're all coming down to have a nice big drink and to try and cool themselves down a bit. Now, we know that this is a boy giraffe because of his horns on his head. He's got a much bigger set of horns on top than what a girl giraffe will have. She'll have very, very thin ones, and she'll also have hair on top, whereas this boy giraffe, he's got no hair there. You see that? His kind of top of his is bald, much like a very old man. He's also got a little bald kind of top to it. So that's how you can tell the difference between boys and girls. Also, a boy giraffe is very big in comparison to a girl giraffe. He's almost a meter taller, which is amazing when you think of it. So I would say that that's probably close to 20 foot, that giraffe. Really, really large. Now, lots of Ellies are going to come drink. So let's try and just get round this giraffe and see if we can just quickly kind of creep around this area, and maybe we can watch the ellies and the giraffe go for a drink. Generally, ellies are a bit of a bully. They don't actually like other animals drinking while they drink, so we're just going slowly so that the giraffe doesn't get too shy as we go. But look, you see there's all the ellies over here are coming for water. They're going to come and have a really nice drink. So what we're going to do is we're going to position ourselves so that the ellies can move towards the water and not have to stress too much. Now, I believe all of you are asking, what is the weather like here? Well, the weather in this area is beautiful today. Today we are having not too hot. It's kind of warm, but it's not ridiculously hot like we sometimes get. Sometimes here in South Africa it can get very warm in the summer months. So what I'm going to try and do is just get around these ellies so that Seb has got some nicer light to show you all what's going on. Also, I need to move a little bit so I don't get sprayed, because the ellies, when they are deciding to have a afternoon kind of drink, they sometimes throw water all over the place to try and kind of cool themselves down. Look, you can see that one is throwing water on its ears to try and just cool its body down. How cool is this? Very, very cool. So I was saying that it's nice and warm today, but not too hot. We've got a nice cool breeze that's blowing. Sometimes at this time of the year the temperatures can get to over 100 Fahrenheit, but today I would say it's probably closer towards sort of 80, 85, which is not too bad for this kind of areas. And it's a beautiful day that we don't have any clouds in the sky, which is quite strange, because this morning when we were out in the morning it was very cloudy and it was actually a little bit cold, but now it's beautiful weather where we can kind of enjoy all the ellies drinking. And can you actually hear them sipping the water? It's quite amazing to hear how they suck the water up into their trunk. All right, now you see with the ellies, how they do this is that they're going to put their trunk in the water, and then they're going to suck water up into their trunk, and their trunk will then hold the water, and then they'll lift it and pull it up to their mouth. Once they pull it up to their mouth, they then squirt it back out. So they're not actually drinking through their trunk. They're not kind of like a straw, like we would use a straw. That's not how it works. They just suck up a little bit, and then they put their trunk to their mouth, and then they squirt it all inside. And what you'll find with them is that they'll actually drop a little bit of water after they've drinking. You see how they mess a bit of water? And that's on purpose. The ellie isn't wasting water. What it's doing is when it sucks up water, sometimes there's little bits of sand and soil and grit, and those little bits of sand, soil and grit, well, those make the elephant is not very good for its stomach, so it sprays out all of that sand, because the sand is very heavy and it normally sinks to the sort of curve of the trunk and stops the elephant from actually sucking that up, which is very, very clever when it comes to an ellie. Very, very cool. Now you can also see, if you look to the right of this kind of these ellies, there's a bird that's taking advantage of the ellies being here. Well, it's running away now, but a beautiful bird called a Burchell's starling, and the reason it's kind of taking advantage is not only can it get water, but as these elephants are kind of spraying water about, they potentially might be disrupting some insects that are around the ground, or even be following the ellies around, and this bird can then pick those up and eat them. Isn't that a beautiful bird? Very, very pretty. So we've got everybody coming to... Oh, hello, there's an elephant coming right past us. How are you? So you can see this ellie wants to come and say hello, and he's very relaxed, or should I say she, and coming just down to have a bit of a drink. There's going to be lots more ellies coming. I can see maybe another 20 that are still in this area that are hopefully going to come and have some water. You see, that's why you can't park too close to them, because otherwise they spray you with their water. Are you having fun, little one? No, don't spray us. It's not listening. It's going to spray us. It's having fun spraying water all over the place, so we might get a little bit wet. So from all of you, you want to know how, other than spraying water on their body, how else do animals keep cool? Well, it depends on the animals. All animals have a different way of doing things. Mostly what you'll find is that they will use shade. So shade is hugely important for animals out in Africa. They need to find a tree where they can get in underneath and just protect themselves from the really hot part of the day. Ellies are very good at going into water and spraying themselves. Things like buffalo and rhino, well, they'll go and roll around in water and wallow. So they'll sit in the water, much like a warthog as well, and they'll try and just kind of cool themselves down like that. The cats, they don't like water, so they won't be able to do that. So what they do is that they will be able to pant. Now, pant is basically when they open their mouths, and maybe some of you have dogs or cats at home, and you'll see on a hot day they open their mouth and their tongue moves quite fast, and it looks like they're breathing very, very fast. Now, they're doing that because their tongue will have moisture on it, so it will have, you know, like your tongue is got a little bit of saliva inside its mouth, and so as their mouth is open and they're breathing very fast, hot air is going over that moisture, and it's causing what we call evaporation. So it's turning the liquid into a gas, and as that happens, it then causes the blood in the tongue to cool down, and that cooler blood then goes back into the body and cools the cat down. So they have a little bit of a different technique to the ellies and the buffalo. Things like giraffe, well, giraffe don't have any of those things, but they have that spotted kind of coat. So I don't know if you noticed, they have that kind of dark and light, and so their dark areas radiate a lot of heat, and they will then get a bit of a breeze that blows over, and that helps with their thermoregulation and kind of keeping them cool. But they're one of the big users of shade quite regularly. Right, now we're going to sit with our ellies for quite some time, because I love watching ellies playing around at water. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent and see how his tracking of that leopard is going.
Well, we did find some more footprints heading in this general area. Now, as Tristan was talking about animals keeping cool, that's what the leopard's trying to do now. So he's going to try to find a nice shady spot, like somewhere in this dry riverbed, and that's where he's going to try to sleep. And if he's lucky, something like an impala or an inyala might wander up towards him. He was quite hungry this morning. Now, you guys are wondering whether some animals use camouflage. Or lots of different animals use camouflage, and you've got lots of different types of camouflage. A leopard is a great example of camouflage. He's got all those rosettes. They're not really spots, they're rosettes. And what that does is help to break up his outline while he's sneaking up on something to eat. Now, I'm checking a lot of his favorite spots where it's very shady today. And you can see we're very dry here at the moment. We're at the end of our dry season. So we don't really have 4 seasons like you would in America. We've got pretty much 2 seasons. We've got wet and green and hot, very hot. And we've got dry and coolish, although we are starting to get hot now. This is the crossover sort of period, October, November. Normally our first rains come in November, and it starts heating up towards summer, and it can get very, very hot here. 110, 112 degrees Fahrenheit during our summer months is not uncommon. So I'm just looking where all these little bits of shade, and of course with that wonderful camouflage the leopard has, makes them difficult to spot. So I've got to keep my eyes carefully on the shade. Okay, now you guys are wondering if there's anything that will hunt a leopard. Not really hunt per se, but if certain predators like lions, if they come across a leopard, they will try kill them. Now, I have found leopards hiding in this shady corner before. Is he sleeping down there? Not today, he's not. So we've got no more footprints yet, which means he might still be on that side. I'm just going to go very slowly back to the area where he was last seen and where we had the last footprints. Now, this is my favorite time of the year, October, when it is quite dry, and you get wonderful sightings like you've been having with Tristan and those elephants. I think I've spotted something. Let me just have a look. It is a leopard stick. Okay, well, I continue to look for the leopard. Let's send you back to Tristan.
Well, we've got a massive female elephant, so one of the big girls that's coming past, as if to kind of just say hello as well. Now you can see, look at how big she is in comparison to the waterhole. You saw all the other elephants that were there, but now you can see how she is, and she kind of takes up just as much space. Now don't you throw water around, because you're going to wet us. And look, she's just sniffing just to see who else has been here, just working out who all the other and that's a baby that's upset because it's not getting what it wants. Now the young baby elephants, when they don't get to suckle, they make that noise like that. So they're shouting at mom saying, "I'm hungry, please feed me." And so we might see them kind of, you might hear it again just now if that mom doesn't let that little baby have some food. But it's really amazing how there's so many ellies here. I reckon there's probably close to maybe 40 elephants that are around, and they're just kind of coming in and out, and as some finish drinking, so others come in, and it's just a constant kind of flow of ellies coming back and forth from the pan. It really is quite wonderful. So all of you would like to know whether there's toenails on the elephant's feet. Yes, there are toenails on the elephant's feet. The elephant has 3 toenails on the front, and that protects those big, soft, squishy feet from things like rocks in particular. You'll find that rocks generally can cause a lot of damage. If they kick a rock too hard, they can split their foot, and that can cause a lot of damage, and it can cause infection to start. Whereas when they've got those toenails, that just protects that front of the foot and makes sure that they don't have to worry about too much damage to the front. They do have toenails on the side, but it's the front ones that really are the big ones that kind of protect everything. So they do have toenails much like us, just very, very big ones and very dirty ones. If your mother sees your toenails like that, she'll probably be very angry with you. So don't let your toenails look like an elephant's toenails, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. So, no, all of you would like to know whether I feel scared of when I'm with the animals. Oh, Seb, do you see the one that's... Yes, there we go. That's very, very cool. That one is having a little scratch behind the ear, just to make sure that everything is sorted out. Elephants love to scratch. Look, it's going to scratch its bum. You see? So they are funny animals. He's scratching his bum because it's itchy, and they don't have hands to be able to scratch there. So a tree works really, really well if you're an elephant, if you've got an itchy bottom. But all of you would like to know whether or not this area, or am I scared when I'm around the animals and nervous? No. So the thing is about being out here is that animals can be very dangerous. So things like elephants can potentially hurt you, and they could really be something that you'd need to be very careful of. But they also are animals that will give you very clear signs when they're not happy. So if an elephant walks up and it starts shaking its head, and its ears are out, and its tail is straight, and it's trumpeting at you, well, then that elephant is telling you you're too close, move away. And so if you just listen to all of these things, then generally you can actually be all right, and you don't have to worry. So I don't get too scared out here. Sometimes if elephants get a little bit crazy, then maybe, but for the most part, no. Now we've got more ellies that are coming. There's a whole lot of them that are starting to come down to drink. Look at that. You can see all of the little babies are coming now as well. So it's about to be a whole family that are going to have a really, really nice drink. You can see the little babies, they're in there besides mom, and they're going to make sure that they get a nice bit of water. Isn't this just wonderful? I love spending time with the ellies. They really are some of my favorite animals that we see out here. Oh well, unfortunately that is the end of our school safari. I hope that you guys had the most wonderful time with us. And I know Sebastian and I loved having you here with us in Africa, and I hope that you learned a lot of things today. I also hope that you don't get too much homework. So from Sebastian and myself, we'll see you hopefully one day in Africa in person, and I hope that you have a really, really good day further. Right, now that the schools have departed us, we are going to now start our normal safari. So I'm going to send you to Steve all the way up in the Mara so he can kick things off, and I wonder what he's going to be doing this afternoon. Thank you very much. I think the school's enjoyed that. We had some nice animals, but we've got something to start the afternoon with. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the normal hours with us. And just jumping on the bottom of the ridge there is a black-backed jackal. Let's see if Arch can get it. It's just running. Oh, is it gone? There we go. There's two of them. There's two of them. A little bit more to the left. There's two there. Oh, there we go. In the right, middle of the frame, a little bit right. There's a second one coming in from the right-hand side. That's a good way to start the afternoon. Two black-backed jackals running through the open plain. We had a couple earlier, but we were so busy with our elephants in one sighting that by the time we finished, they had trotted off and were gone. Don't forget, folks, this is interactive and we'd love to hear from you. Hashtag SafariLive, or throw your comments and questions in on the YouTube chat stream. Don't forget the all-important @FC, and keep your questions relevant to what we are talking about, and hopefully we'll get to answer if we can. Obviously, we don't know everything, but then again, Brent is on board, so we do. I'm only taking a dig. It's wonderful to have Brent back. Here we have, let's see if we can get the jackal one more time. It's very far away. Where have they gone, Arch? Well, they're busy ferreting around. Maybe we'll get them another view if we get a bit closer. Ferreting around, looking for all sorts of things. Nice little bit of longish grass there that was protected by the fire that raged through here. And it's possible that's an area that a whole lot of sort of rodents and things have kind of hiding themselves in. A few nesting birds are in there, so good spot for the jackals to sort of do their thing. Robert, jackal pups or packs. Well, essentially they're a monogamous pair, and they can have anywhere from 2 to 6 pups, with the average being about 3. And depends on the success really of the adults and the food resource. All 6 can survive in some cases, sometimes only 2, sometimes only 1, sometimes not successful. But every now and again you might see 2 or 3 hanging around with the family after they've sort of, what's the word, fledged, for the use of a better word. And they'll stay around and actually help for at least a season to give the parents that added bit of help with providing food for the youngsters. And then also they learn a few more of the tricks of the trade, the tricks of the cunningness of the jackal, because to be out here in this landscape with the lions, hyena and cheetah, well, you need to know what you're doing if you're a jackal. There they are. I've got a nice view of them now. 2 of them. And if there's more than one, then it's invariably youngsters or ones that are helping. I can only see 2. The blacksmith lapwings are not happy with them. The blacksmith lapwings, or I think it was actually the crowned lapwing. Lapwings, as you know, they like to nest on the ground. And, well, jackal will ferret them out and try and get the eggs. But it's quite a marvelous thing what certain lapwings can do. Even the jackal, the smartness of the jackal, can be outplayed by certain birds. As they get close to the nest of these birds, they will feign a little bit of an injury, and they'll run around on the floor with what looked like a broken wing, and the jackal just can't resist an easy meal. It quickly darts and tries to catch the lapwing that is pretending to be injured. And then as soon as the adult has dragged the jackal far enough away from the nest, well, it makes a miraculous recovery, flaps itself off and flies back off into the distance, leaving the jackal absolutely perplexed. Quite an amazing sort of display that you can see birds doing, and if that's not really, really cool to see, then I don't know what is. So we carry on up the hill here. We're in an absolutely sensational area. I've been driving through and just marveling at how wide open it is. Lots of termite mountains, but this is cheetah country. This is where you'd hope to find one of the fast cats. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled. Maybe we'll find 2 of those cheetah males we saw yesterday. Who knows? But in the meantime, Tristan's loving his afternoon with elephants. Let's go back over there.
I am indeed, Steve. We're having a wonderful afternoon with the Ellies. They've been spectacular. There's just more and more and more that are coming. And, well, it's one of my favorite things is to spend time with Ellies. And so while Brent is looking for the little chief, I've just been having a blast sitting here, enjoying Ellies coming coming from every direction. And I see now we've got another herd that's busy arriving towards us, which is pretty incredible. So this is now probably, I think, the third or fourth herd that we've seen coming in, and we still haven't seen Short Trunk arrive just yet. So she should arrive fairly soon, and then we'll have pretty much... Oh, there's another herd around. This will be Ellies absolutely everywhere. Whether or not they all kind of constitute part of the same grouping, they might all be related in some way, but you can just see that they slowly but surely kind of edging in, and the response from these guys is not a huge one, which means that I'm pretty sure they know exactly who's kind of walking towards them. They probably know who they are and are aware of their presence, but it really is a beautiful kind of scene sitting here with them. You've got the noise of them drinking every now and then. You've got this just kind of very pleasant just to sit and just take it easy. Oh, hello. Can you hear that? You can hear the little bit of kind of grumbling and groaning. That's just them talking to each other as other Ellies pass by. So sometimes you'll hear a little bit of kind of talking that will take place. The big adult females, though, don't seem too concerned. It seems more like the sort of youngsters that are making a lot of noise than the adults. And so it seems like everything is fine. And those adults didn't come and drink, which is quite interesting. They just sort of hung around and had a little look and then walked off. Very cool. What a beautiful way to spend an afternoon. It's very, 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 very cool. Right, now it sounds like finally Brent Leo Smith has broken his unlucky cat streak and is caught up, well, with one of the leopards that I'm sure he's been looking forward to seeing.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I saw lions last night, Tristan. And here we go. It is little Hosanna. He took us on quite the runabout. Tracks all over the place. And he is now having a little snooze. He's still hungry. He hasn't managed to catch anything since this morning. So I think he is a good bet for this afternoon. We'll be putting our patience pants on and sitting with the little prince for quite some time. There we go. He's not completely asleep. You can see he's occasionally looking about. Just going to move backwards a little bit so Aubrey can come in. Oops. Oops. I'll go back, kiddo. I'll go back a little bit. There you go. You got him, still got him there, Craigo? Cool. There we go. So there we go. Hosanna napping nicely. Now there's still quite a lot of game around here. We've seen some Duiker, Impala, Inyala all about. But this time of the day, he's probably going to be snoozing for the next while. Now, of course, there are other vehicles around us, so you might hear some people talking, but they're also enjoying Hosanna. Diana says, hasn't little Hosanna grown? Indeed he has. But that's what one would expect. He's still got a bit of filling out to do. And we must enjoy the time we have with him now, because he might not be around for too much longer before he disperses. Let's go in close on his face quickly. Onto the whiskers. Now, I've got a question for you guys since he's napping away. Now, you can see those whiskers very clearly there. I want you to tell me what is the proper name for a leopard's whiskers. Hashtag SafariLive if you know the answer. What is the proper name for a leopard's whiskers? Now we have a question from Sudan, a new viewer. Welcome. And how old is this male leopard? Now I'm trying to remember. So what month I found him in? I can't remember now. It was it was about, must be close on to two and a half years. I'm just trying to remember. Was it 2000? What year are we in? 2018. It was 2016. Now I'm trying to remember which month he was born. Was it Feb? I think it was Feb. Yeah, February the 2nd, 2016. And we actually found him when he was less than 15 centimeters long. So he was less than 8 hours old when we found him in his den. So I've been following this leopard for his whole life, literally. So he was born Feb 2016. Normally, by this age, he would have dispersed from his natal area. However, it's a bit of an interesting story why Hosana hasn't quite fully dispersed yet. When he was very young, about 14 months old, his mother disappeared. And him and his little sister were left on their own. We're not quite sure what happened to his mother, Karula, but she was killed or died, and they were left in age. Now, without having his mother about, when he would have got to about 18 months old, 2 years, because she would have been coming into estrus quite frequently, and the males in the area wouldn't want him around, and also the mothers will chase the young males away and young females away because they are a potential threat to new cubs. But of course, with his mother disappearing and dying, he's had a bit of a different upbringing to most leopards. And he is very, very relaxed around vehicles. So I said we're going to have to keep our patient pants on here, and there's a good chance he's going to hunt this evening. So while we do that, let's send you back to Tristan and some elephants.
Well, indeed, the patient's pants are key in warm summer conditions when it comes to cats. They often lie down and sleep, and we know that Hosana loves a good nap until about sort of 5:30 when it starts to cool down quite a bit, and then he starts to move around a little bit. Pretty sure he'll go for a drink at Treehouse Dam, depending on where he is, maybe Treehouse or Twin Dams. Although Twin Dams, when I went past it last, was probably a day away from drying out, and it looks like, I would imagine, that dam must be all but kind of done at this stage, and so there's really not too many other places for a cat like Hosana to go and drink, and so I'd imagine Treehouse, like I say, or would be the next kind of stop. Otherwise he's going to have to make his way all the way back up here for water. But as Brent mentioned, apparently Jamie was saying to me that Hosana looked very, very hungry this morning, and so it seems as though maybe he'll try and hunt this afternoon, and hopefully he'll be successful this evening. It would be quite nice if he did. It's one of those things with Hosana that I still haven't quite gotten right yet. I've spent a very long time with him, but have yet to actually see him successfully make a decent kill, which is, I suppose, testament to the fact that he does a lot of his hunting, I suppose, in hours when we're not there, and also probably the influence that we actually have in many respects. In, you know, even though we don't want to, the noise of the car moving around sometimes probably does disturb things a little bit. Anyway, hopefully Brent will have more luck than I do this evening, and things will go well. Now, I hear Brent has already started with his banter about the fact that he found lions yesterday evening. Well, no, Brent, Taylor found lions yesterday morning, and then the dam cam found them in the afternoon, so you can't claim that. I'm afraid you'll need to kind of work a bit harder. exactly, technically the dam cam found them in the morning too, so all of you found them ahead of both Brent and Taylor. So sorry, Brenty, you'll have to wait a little bit longer to be able to claim that you've found lions since you've been back. Just because they were on the screen doesn't mean that you actually found them. It's nice giving Brent a little bit of a rib every now and then. He's been away for a while, so we might as well give him a bit of stick just to see how he kind of copes with it and see how he handles it. He'll obviously come back with some sort of retort about how he invented tracking, but it's okay, we'll be all right. We'll be able to kind of handle it, and we'll eventually sort him out. I'm pretty sure the banter is going to start thick and fast over the next little bit, and we're going to hear a lot between him and Taylor McCurdy. I don't think I'm going to hear the end of it, and hear a lot of things over the course of the next week. But our Ellies look like they're pretty much done at this stage. Most of them have come to drink. This particular individual is actually the one that walked past just now, so it's almost like it realized, well, it's too crowded there, I'll wait for everybody to finish, and then I'm going to go and have myself a little bit of a drink. And so now that's the last one for now that's made its way towards the water and is kind of just moving off to go and feed. They're all around us, so there's lots of Ellies kind of every direction. I can see them all kind of just feeding very happily in our kind of areas. I'm still waiting for Short Trunk to arrive. Pretty sure she's going to end up here. She's just kind of probably doing a bit of a loop around everybody, and then she'll come in and she'll kind of hopefully come and have a drink. The giraffe decided, no ways am I dealing with this nonsense, and ended up moving itself very, very far away. In fact, I can't even see where the giraffe has gone anymore. It's disappeared somewhere kind of northwards. So poor giraffe didn't get a drink. I wouldn't be surprised if it appears actually on the dam cam. Right. There's a waterbuck apparently that Seb can see, so I'll show you quickly the waterbuck. But while we do that though, let's send you back to Steve Vovo in the Mara, who I'm sure is pretty looking through the masses of wildebeest.
Yes, I love watching warthogs run. I always hear the A-Team theme tune. Oh, he's slowing down. He's been running for some distance, this poor fellow. Now he's suddenly found himself in a herd of Thompson's gazelle. I think he's feeling a bit more relaxed. Now he's looking at us. But we've been driving next to him for a few hundred meters, and he was absolutely moving. I love watching warthogs run. I've never been able to follow them with a car like that, because obviously normally in Juma or something like that, they just disappear and you can't see them again. But that was cool. We were going at about probably about 35 kilometers there. He was just trotting along, moving very nicely. Now he's in amongst the Thompson's gazelle. I think he was feeling a bit lonely and isolated on the plains, and now he knows that, well, he's less of a target to a cheetah than these Tommies are. So, well, in the distance we've spotted some vehicles. We can't see what they can see, so we're going to go over there and have a look. But there he goes. Don't you just imagine the MacGyver, the A-Team theme tune? Oh, he stopped down. Oh my God, he was moving, and he wasn't even going that fast. He was just trotting along. When a warthog goes, well, they really go, they really move. But over in the distance there, we got some cars. We're going to go and check out what they can see. I'll try it with my binoculars. Can't see what they're looking at. Might be the herds of wildebeest, but we know from time to time that there might be a cheetah somewhere around there. We had those two males just in here yesterday. Oh, was it last night? It was indeed. So we are scanning the horizons. So far, nothing yet. Just the plains of openness with lots of game. Hopefully we'll find you a cheetah with a better view than we had this morning. It was wonderful spending time with those two males last night. Unfortunately, it took us a bit too long to keep up with them. So hopefully this afternoon, if we do find them, well, while we're going, we can't drive past the Topi babies. These are just the cutest little things you'll find around here. Little Topi, baby Topi. They've all seemingly just dropped in the last few days. When I got here a week ago, I saw a couple, and now you seem to find all of them have youngsters. They've got two breeding peaks, and they run incredibly fast. The strategy is similar to that of a wildebeest in that they need to be able to run, but for the first few days, first few weeks even, mum will leave them hidden somewhere. She goes away and leave them on their own. Some are a little bit older than others. Did you hear that little noise? That was a little squeaking noise. I think it was from them. Oh, they are very funny looking things, and well, anyway, there's an even bigger one in the middle. They're different ages. There's two sort of peaks out here. There was a few that dropped back in February when I was here, and then
Welcome back, everyone. It seems like Steve's having a few gremlins up in Kenya this afternoon. So we are still sitting patiently with Hosanna. And he has not moved a muscle. Looking quite comfortable, a nice little spot of shade. You might be able to hear a jumbo jet overhead. I'm trying to think, that one's this side, on its way to Dubai probably. Trish Tiermont and lots of others said vibrise or vibrisse. That is correct. That is the proper name for a leopard's whiskers, or a lion's whiskers for that matter. Louise thinks you all cheated and used Google. We would never do that, would you? Cheat and use Google? Batman, what do you think? You think they knew? Batman's giving you the benefit of the doubt. FC, not so much. And well, he's not completely asleep. Like most animals, he's still alert to his surroundings and what's going on. We're actually not too far away from where he was born. Shannon would like to know, what is my favorite Hosanna memory? Oh, Shannon, I have so many. Maybe I was on bushwalk with Brian Joubert many moons ago, and we were sitting probably about 5 meters away from his little sister, Shongile. We weren't quite sure where the nonsense Hosanna was just yet. And then he started stalking Brian's bushwalk antenna, and he ended up quite close to us. I actually had to have a stern word with him, but he was much smaller then. Wave my stick in his general direction, telling him to behave. What other wonderful Hosanna moments? As I say, I've been lucky. I've been so many. Seen him kill a few scrub hares. What else? Oh, I've seen such. And obviously, the day we found them when they were tiny little cubs is always a great one. And then also when the first time Karula brought them back from the south, that was also wonderful. So yes, too many to mention just one. Lots and lots of wonderful Hosanna memories over the years. And he is very flat at the moment. Well, it seems like Tristan's taking a cue out of my book from yesterday, which was an elephant-filled afternoon, and he's got more on the way to the waterhole.
Well, we don't have more on the way to the water. It's still just the same bunch that are kind of milling about, and one comes and drinks every now and then walks off, and another one comes in. And it's just kind of a tag team effort at the moment. And poor Waterbuck that actually came in to try and have a drink, it just settled in to start drinking, and well, this Ellie approached, and that poor Waterbuck had to make a hasty retreat in order to get out of the way for this Ellie to actually have some water. So I feel sorry for the Waterbuck. It looked like it was about to really dig into a nice cool drink. But anyway, that's the way it goes out here in nature. It's the bigger you are, the more kind of right of way you get, and so everybody is a little grumpy. Sounds like the little ones are making lots of noise down in the drainage line, very, very close to Gallagher Camp. We obviously are right near the camp at the moment at Gallagher Pan, and so you're kind of hearing a lot of it kind of resonating out of this drainage line that's here. So for some reason, though, I don't know what it is, the Ellies have all just decided to come back in the last few days. It's crazy to think that last week an elephant was, there was nothing. We were having very few elephant sightings anywhere around, and it's almost like en masse they've arrived back in this particular section, and kind of we're seeing Ellies now throughout the reserve, which is wonderful. It's really nice to have them back. I thoroughly enjoy spending time with these guys, but it makes you wonder what triggers these kind of movements. Is it maybe that little bit of rain we had last week that triggered them to start coming this way? Yes, hello. You're going to shake your head at us. I'm sorry. Did we Right, so I'm going to carry on moving is what it's going to do. The Waterbuck is still milling about in the hope that it'll be able to get a drink once this Ellie moves off. It's just kind of behind the car at the moment, so there it is there. Excuse the aerial, I do apologize. Of course, the aerial would be exactly where the Waterbuck is. That's how these things work. So it's waiting now, hopefully, for this elephant to move off. The problem is the Ellie is going to move straight at it, which means that this poor Waterbuck is probably going to get chased very shortly. Yes, there it goes. It's deciding discretion is the better part of valor, and is going to move off. Now it looks like another Ellie is on its way again, so I'm pretty sure that it's going to come and have a drink. We've got Ellies literally coming in from all over the place. There's more coming out of the drainage line section. This individual is now coming. We still as yet have not found Short Trunk and the rest of the herd coming down to drink. So I wonder if they're hearing all of these Ellies and have decided not. So what's wrong with you now? You see that behavior? Straight tail, head up raised. That's a agitated animal, and for some reason all of a sudden just got a huge fright. Now you often see that when they bump into other types of animals like wild dogs or lions, but it's so weird because that elephant has already been down to the water. You can see by the wetness in its legs that it's been around, and so I'm surprised that it just kind of had that little reaction towards us. Maybe it got a bit of a fright. Hang on, Seb, there's no predator walking here, is there? No. So Tula Ann, who's 6 years old, and it's been a long time, Tula Ann, since I've heard from you, but I hope that you are very, very well. And it's always nice to get questions from Tula Ann because I often like the questions that Tula Ann sends. And Tula Ann wants to know, is it good to talk to the elephants? Do you think, do I think that they listen to us? And do I think that they would like to hear a story? So Tula Ann, I mean, I talk to the elephants every now and then just because, I don't know, I spend lots of time with them, and so sometimes it just kind of feels like they're engaging in some respects. Elephants are incredibly clever animals with really incredible hearing, and so for me I would imagine that, you know, that they can hear the differences between all our voices, and so that's why I talk to them. Whether or not they would like my stories, well, Tula Ann, I don't know. Maybe I'm boring, maybe they don't like my stories, maybe they do, I'm not sure, but I would imagine that some of the elephants, particularly little baby elephants, maybe they would like to hear our stories and be able to kind of hear what we've got to say. But definitely some Ellies don't like our stories at all, because sometimes when I'm talking to all of you, the Ellies just try and walk away from us. But sometimes, in like this afternoon, we've had Ellies all around us, so maybe of our voice and listening to what we've got to tell all of you back home, which is quite interesting. I'm also intrigued now to see whether these Ellies actually come to this water point now, because Seb, I don't know if you can just quickly show everybody. You might be hearing it in the background, so you'll hear a noise of water. There is where the borehole pumps water into Gallagher Pan. Now often when that happens and Ellies are around, they'll actually come almost running towards that area, and they'll drink right from there, because that is now clean fresh water that is coming out there to refill all of this kind of area. And so a lot of you thought that it was an Ellie that was peeing, but no, it's not an Ellie that was peeing, it's Gallagher Pan refilling after a bit of a demolishing job that the kind of Ellies have done. Anyway, we'll keep sitting here. I'm sure there's more ellies that are coming up over the mound, and so they should theoretically head towards the water. And so we were going to send you to Steve, but now we're not, because Steve has got a technical issue and apparently a gremlin. Anyway, like I said, those are the ellies that I'm hoping are going to come towards our direction, and they're kind of steadily kind of cruising this way. They have been to the water already. You can see dark backs generally indicate that they've already had water sprayed on them. So what happened is everybody kind of came in, drank as we got here, and then pushed out again and is feeding, and then seems like coming back again. I suppose it's a clever technique, because come out, drink, the sun starts to get a bit bright and a bit warm, and then just head back into the shade that's not even 50 meters away, eat there, and then come back to the water again. It seems to make perfect sense, if you ask me. And so quite wonderful to kind of be in amongst all of this. And there's literally ellies in 360 degrees kind of circle around us at the moment. They're a bit fragmented and not big herds, but there are ellies kind of drifting in and out all over the place, which is a wonderful kind of spot to sit. It just goes to show you how in these dry periods water is such an integral part of life, and being patient and sitting at water can really provide some incredible kind of sightings. Often we kind of sit and we spend a lot of time just kind of hanging around water points, and we get to see things like not only ellies, but also, you know, obviously Hosana spent a lot of time here. We've seen Tingana a lot at water. So, you know, they really are good places to kind of just sit and rest and relax and watch, and you'll often be surprised at the things. Kruger, it's one of the best things to do, because obviously in Kruger, unlike here where we can go tracking and off-roading, you can't do those kind of things there. And so you'll find a lot of people will find their favorite waterholes in Kruger, and they'll actually just go park there for most of the day, and they'll wait and hope that animals come down to drink and come down to kind of have a little bit of water, and that often means that they get really kind of incredible sightings. So lots and lots of crazy things can happen at water. So it's a good time of day also to be here now. This sort of late afternoon is when the ellies kind of start backing off a little bit, so they will have drunk now, and then you'll get the cats starting to come through a little bit later. Now, talking about cats, Hosana's obviously still with Brent Leo Smith, and I'm sure he's hoping that Hosana decides to get up and start walking towards the nearest water point.
Well, he has indeed. We're just waiting for him. You can just see him through the thickets there, waiting for him to come round the corner towards us. He is still quite peckish. Sorry, Craig. Forgot to take my foot off the brake. That wasn't Craig's bad camera work. Oh, has he seen something? Hold on. So there's a pair of dikers that I saw around here quite frequently. So he's on the jog now. So I think he might have seen something. No, cross the road so I can go past, please. So what we don't want to do is disturb the hunt and make it... Okay, hold on. So now he's passed. I'm not going to disturb. That dikers are not going to look at me and think... Okay, I'm just going to get around to the opposite side. We don't want to disturb. So I'm going to put... he's after a diker. I've seen the diker. Still quite far. But now this is where you've got to be very careful when driving. You want to put yourself in a position, but you also don't want to disturb... Diker's running. And Diker spotted him and took off. Okay. So let's put ourselves in a position to keep an eye on Hosana. Ooh-wee. You know what, guys? I'm going to go around. I'm going to head down into the drainage line. So it's going to take me a while to get there. Okay, I'm going to rush around to get in front of Hosana. Hold on, while we do that, we're going to send you across to Steve with mongoose.
Thank you, Brent. Well, we have found ourselves a very nice little family of mongooses perched and grooming on a pile of basalt rock. They've been grooming for some time. No social grooming as of yet, mainly solo grooming. They are building up for the big show. They got front row seats. They are in, look at them, they're looking over, they're waiting for the show to begin. They got their popcorn and their insects ready to go. And look at what they have found. Ooh, what is that? Well, we have found a male and a female lion. We're believed to be a mating pair. We've been here for about 8 minutes, and they have not moved. So we're timing to see exactly how long it will take. We don't know who it is. If any of you are able to identify these two from that position, well then, you're absolute geniuses. I have no idea for the moment. We'll get a bit of a movement soon on who or what they might be. Oh, there's an ear movement. But they are flat. Flat, flat, flat. Don't know who they are. We'll see soon. Not too bad, that male. Nice comfortable grass. Very brave mongoose family, knowing that they can escape these lions if they need to. Just perched on the rocks waiting for the show. Oh, there we go. There's some mutual grooming happening on the left. And a very tired mongoose going, get on with it already, lions. Come on. They paid good money for these seats. And they watch the sun setting behind us, facing west. A good time for them to do their grooming. Just outside of the den site, there'll be lots of defecation and grooming happening there while the sun goes down, and in the morning probably on the other side with the sun rising. There we go. He'll wake him up now with a little bit of grooming. That always gets someone going. Oh, how rude. He's just gone and moved in on him there. He wants some grooming himself. Well, that's what you do when you want someone to scratch your back. You put your back right in front of their face. It works. Got a lioness's head up. Who is she? Oh, you are beautiful. Wow, got no idea. Oh, there she is. Hello. Oh, painted wolf. They are like rock hyenas indeed. It's interesting. The Afrikaans name for dwarf mongoose is called a meishond, which basically means when the settlers first came to Africa, they saw this animal that wasn't, a mace and a haunt is a dog. So they found these animals. They weren't quite sure if they were dogs or mice. So they called them meishonds. I think some birds just landed there. What are those? Oh, look at them. Wattled starlings, indeed. Hello, folks. They haven't got their breeding plumage in just yet. As the breeding plumage develops, they get this very weird yellow wattle hanging off the face, which is so strange because it hangs out with, it's a hormonal thing in the breeding time, and then they just reabsorb it back, and you could just grow massive yellow wattles out of your face and then just reabsorb them again. It'd be quite a party trick. But anyway, the mouse rock, enjoying some sunshine. And I suppose if you'd never seen a mongoose before, you'd think it was a mixture between a dog and a mouse. I know Conrad and FC is laughing right now. Conrad and I have had some chuckles about mouse dogs before. And hopefully we're going to get some action soon in the form of... Oh, here we go. There's movement. Oh, and it's over. Well, she's at least rolled all the way over onto the other side, which is him. He hasn't even flicked the flies off of his face. Yeah, I think we're going to cut a highlight there and do a slow-mo replay of the move. I think that'll be a winner-loo. Oh, with an ear flick. Oh, head is up. See, as soon as she starts moving, he will get it into his mind that she's keen again, and he'll jump up. Tom, as far as I'm aware, well, we've only got two social species of mongoose in South Africa, the dwarf and the banded. The other mongoose species we find in South Africa are mainly solid. As far as I'm aware, the dwarf and the banded both do go through grooming, the dwarf mongoose being the top of the grooming sort of list, where the other mongoose, well, there's probably a grooming that goes on between a male and a female, but there's no dominance due to the fact that it's only a pair. So being solitary or monogamous pairs. Elsewhere in the world, I couldn't tell you. I don't really know of too many other mongoose species outside of Africa. That's not my forte. Anyway, they're still there, still on the rocks, I think, and they're lining themselves up for the best show in the afternoon. We don't know how long ago these lions last mated. Vehicles we saw from the distance, we're watching them and then leaving, so it's probably about 15 minutes now. I need to just check the time. Yeah, about 13 to 15 minutes since we entered the scene, so we're looking at about maybe 16 minutes if they left directly after they mated. But anyway, we've still got the mongooses, mongeese, mongai. I'll never let that one go. On some very nice basalt rock. They're all three in a very awkward looking position. Now that is what we call, folks, a Christmas bed in South Africa. When, I don't know if you've ever heard of a Christmas bed, it's a favorite for all time, even for adults. It's when you basically go and take mattresses, duvets and pillows, and you throw them all over the lounge, and all the kids sleep there while you watch TV and movies. And Christmas beds are some of the best things ever. So anyway, let's go back down to another one with Brent.
Well, there is Mr. Hosana. He's decided to take a chill amongst the jackalberries on the edge of the Mawati. And you can hear one of his nemesis giving him a good scolding. Squirrel's going, oh, he's up again. Which way are you going? Okay. He might come down. I had a feeling he's going to slowly make his way back towards the pan. Oh no, he's coming down to us. Isn't that lovely? Well done, Hosana. He is a stunning cat. You can see his dewlap is slowly starting to develop. Oh, sorry, Lou, can you go again with that question? The Game Drive channel was talking at the same time. Oh, look at that beautiful light on him. Sudan would like to know, are leopard populations increasing or decreasing? Well, Sudan, it depends on where you are. In this part of the world, they are quite safe, but in other parts of are decreasing, and it just depends. Certain areas, they are very, very stable and safe, like where we are now. Other areas, they are under a bit of pressure. Okay, so the Juma vehicles are right behind him. I'm going to do my trickiness again, and that's the joy about knowing a reserve as well as we do know, is that I can leapfrog. I know a little secret spot to sneak into the Mawati up ahead. Okay, well, I get towards my little secret spot in a bit of a rush. Let's send you back to Tristan.
Well, we're still trying to drive now towards kind of Buffelshoek Dam area. I want to try to see if I can follow up on those buffalo. Now, I do apologize if you're going to get a break-up in signal, because we are going through the Graham Road, and it does happen sometimes, but it should go away pretty. We're up on this particular end of the road. There we go, all good. Well done, Jigger. Now, I did have a good giggle at Brent yesterday because he was not very impressed that Rusty was not available and dump into Jigger. And then this morning we had to have an argument as to why he couldn't be in Jigger because he's bigger. And Brent is probably, I think in total, not even 2 centimeters taller than what I am. And so I have to laugh that that's the reason he gets Wendy, is because he's 2 centimeters taller than what I am. And unfortunately for Brent Leo Smith, though, what he doesn't know is that we're going to just change him around all over the place and get to the cars before him, and then we're just going to change it, and then he's not going to have any choice whatsoever. And I'm just kidding. We'll try and work it that he gets as much space as he can, even though the cars theoretically should be the exact same size, given that they're the exact same model with the same length as chassis, so there shouldn't be too much difference in the size of the vehicles. Although I always say that I agree with him, though, that Jigger does feel a lot smaller. Jigger feels almost like a in comparison to Rusty. Now, Buffelshoek Dam, I wonder if these buffalo are here. Cal 6, an update on Sand Wars? No, at the moment Sand Wars are on a hiatus because, well, Taylor hasn't been driving, as I'm sure you've noticed, for the last 3 days. She'll be back on drive tomorrow morning. And so, you know, we haven't really had a chance to kind of challenge each other just yet and keep the sort of war going. Busy day yesterday, actually. So Taylor, myself, and Ali, I was busy sitting at morning meeting, contemplating for the day, and then a friend of mine, which many of you probably might have heard of before, called Grant, who's the wild guy for the Kruger Park area. He just kind of looks after that whole program, and so he knows probably the most about the. He phones me with another friend of mine, Joel, who's a vet, and the two of them kind of asked me what am I up to, and so I said, no, you know. They said, but are you really at work or are you just at work? So I said, no, I'm at work, but I don't think that I'll be doing any driving today. So then they said, to Gari Gate in about 20 minutes time, and so be ready, we're going to go and dart some wild dogs and go and do some temper and rabies work that they were doing. And so what we did is we went off down to Singita and we went and darted. That is parts that it kind of comes down from Ngala, so the one that, you know, I put the collar on with them the last time, that area, to be able to find him, and we found him, and so we darted him once again and removed his collar, so he's now called the collared male from the Sands pack, Ngala pack, whatever you want to call it now that he's joined the Sands area. So we took his collar off and we took some bloods and overall condition check, and it's good to say that his condition is looking very, very good. He didn't have too many ticks or fleas on him, and he was in a healthy. So I got to see that kind of pack with the 8 puppies in it, which were very, very cute, and so it's had a thoroughly good day with them. And so that's why we wars, because we ended up going and messing around down with wild dogs in the Sabi Sands, which was, like I say, a lot of fun and day, if I'm honest. Now there you can see Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah. They're just having a late afternoon rendezvous in the pool afternoon, so they've got a few. I wonder if that's another rendezvous. Maybe this is a double date that they're going on with the 2 terrapins on the back. Also there as well, and maybe this is the new system that is employed in the hippo world, is double dating with your friends. They don't seem to be too perturbed, do the terrapins? It's going to be an awfully long way down if those terrapins fall. I'm wanting does, because if Snorkel Sarah moves, well, those 2 terrapins are going to go for a bit of a kind of dive, and it will almost be like a diving platform for those terrapins, given how high that is. I wonder if they suffer from vertigo. Yes, Louise, extreme dating. It is extreme dating when you're sitting on the back of a hippo. Nope. She's plonked down. She's going to roll over. Is she going to roll over? The way, Steve. Oh, that one's doing yoga. It's just, come on, off you go. Yes, back up a little bit. The view's not. There we go. Good leg stretch, and good. Look at that. Little bit of yogaing when on top of extreme dating and yoga session all at once from our terrapin. What it's doing, I have absolutely no. But anyway, it is decided that this is how it's going to now sit with a leg stretched out. A little bit more. Maybe it's like reps. It's just, and so then do a few repetitions. There we go. Oh, very tiring work. Now I need to stop. No. Oh, now both legs. It's all happening now. It thinks it's in the water and it's a little bit confused by what's going on. Maybe it's not a well terrapin. Or it's just trying to woo her. Maybe this is his, you know, how men go and this is how terrapins woo one another. Exactly, he's kind of dancing or flexing his muscles, so to speak, showing her, look at that thigh, look at that goodness that you could be having. She doesn't look too convinced, does she? I don't even know if it's a female, maybe it's another boy, which would be quite interesting. But either way, he's showing off to this other terrapin, and Steve and Sarah don't seem to be too impressed either. They kind of face, they're not too worried about the terrapin antics. Look at that. Yes, we're not worried about you guys. You guys can just do your thing on the back. I'm just going to... I'm so looking forward to James being back to be able to narrate Steve's last few weeks as Buffelshoek has died. So I thoroughly enjoy the fact that the two of them are still here, and it is hilariously funny when James watches them, because his voice that he puts on always has me in fits of laughter. Oh no, the other one's gone. Where did she go? Maybe he kicked fell off. Oh no. He doesn't seem too perturbed, does he? He's kind of just got back legs out, front legs out. Exactly. He doesn't realize his own strength. He's just kind of flexed the bicep and off. He's not going to go. There's almost a mayday call that went out. So. Terrapins don't seem to be the smartest creatures when it comes to this. This terrapin has obviously been on this back all afternoon, because you can see, look at how dry the shell and legs are. So it's obviously been out there and dried completely, because there's no ways it's gotten any other way to that hippo other than being out by itself. And I'm pretty sure at some point Snorkel Sarah is going to move, and that's going to be the end of this hippo's sun tanning session. I mean, not hippo, terrapin sun tanning session. Snorkel Sarah is still enjoying a bit of a sun. Very funny though. But behind them is actually something of far more interest than our terrapin, which is a beautiful stork. So there we go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Very, very pretty bird, that. And you can see saddle-billed stork. The female saddle-billed storks look very similar. There's not too much in the way of coloration, but when you look at this bird, you'll notice underneath its beak, little yellow wattles that are hanging down. So not the one on top there, but just look underneath. You see those little yellow wattles bobbing about, and then you'll also notice that they're coloration, so black eye, and that is how you tell male from female. A female will not have those wattles, and she will have a kind of, or yellow kind of ring to her eye, and it kind of, you can see it very, very easily. But look at that, isn't that cool? And just poking about. He's looking, I mean, he's looking for, I suspect maybe trying to find maybe some freshwater mussels, potentially maybe some frogs that are just in the mud, or maybe even catfish. I've seen these guys go after baby terrapins too, which is quite amazing. They'll sometimes get baby terrapins as well. One of your favorite birds. Well, they are spectacular, aren't they? And the coloration on them is really are beautiful animals. Good, we're going to sit here with the saddle-billed stork, the terrapins, and decide what they're going to do. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Brenton.
Sane has decided to nap in the Moati, and he's got himself quite a comfy spot there. As you can see, he's lying right in the car track, and he's having a little snooze, probably nice and moment. And I'm pretty sure he is going to get up and on the hunt again a little later. But there are other people who are wanting to come into the site. we're going to, while he's snoozing, we're going to let them come in, and then we'll come back as soon as they're done, and I think he's going to be a bit more active later on this evening. Craig's going to show you a really big tree. Aren't you, Craig? So, one of my favorite trees. It's a very big one. And you're going to tell me what tag SafariLive. Who can tell me what this massive tree that I'm parked? What do you? Let me just quickly talk to Tristan. Tristan, yeah, that herd was lying up between Quarry Pan and Central this morning. Absolutely magnificent. Now, you will spot some fruits, and well, not today, but I'll break one open for you. They're actually quite. The problem is you never really get to eat them before the baboons and the monkeys. But we're going to leave a little. Now we'll be back a little bit later. I think I'm going to head down to dams, see what's happening. Unfortunately, Steve's been having a little bit of gremlin problems in the Mara, but it seems like they've got sorted. Some big cats for you.
Very much. The love affair was short and sweet. Up. And it was over in moments, and they're back down flat. We're going to have to time it again this time, folks. It happened very. Hopefully, we'll get to see it again, and we managed to get all sort of shots of them. So hopefully, we'll be able to. It's going to take me a moment though to look through all to get a good idea of who exactly the. It's definitely not Kupuli because it doesn't have a hole in his. He's had some mysteriously new plastic that we are not aware of. It's definitely not Kinky Tail, that I can tell you for sure. Exactly is hard to say. She is an S, and he is a beautiful 5-year-old or so male. Not sure. Development as Kapuli, as the one Ondoliopiac male. Other Ondoliopiac male, well, I think we might. To be honest, but anyway, a couple of shots and we'll see if we can figure out exactly who they are. We were here pretty much yesterday. The pin of these lions is pretty much exactly where the cheetah yesterday, and so possible that those cheetah were in the area and of these lions and well moved off as you do. You won't be hanging around. I don't think the mate is interested in the cheetah due to the fact that mating, but the competition predators is always very, very, very strong. But for now, taking a breather. Mongoose are asking for their money back because the put on was really, really bad. Okay, well, we seem to be having many gremlins. We're going to a while. We'll be back shortly.